Hello there, YouTube. This is the Rogue Gem Player, and I'm coming at you with a Tri-Brigade Fire Fist deck profile. It's a cool concept that I like, so I figured, you know what, let's see if we can make it work. And it does work pretty well. It's kind of one of those decks where, because the Tri-Brigade stuff is very, very splashable, and you can condense the engine down. Not to mention, because it is Tri-Brigade, you can play some supplementary spell traps if you choose to. And there is one card in here that I really like. So let's get right into it. So start off with the main deck. We're playing 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Fractal. It is the best main deck Tri-Brigade, mainly because it is the level 4, at least for this deck. When you can send it to get basically any of them, just because you can send a Nerval, which gives you any Tri-Brigade that you want. So it gives you a lot of free advantage, and the fact that it is level 4 is pretty important for the Fire Fist related stuff. So we have that. And then we're playing 2 copies of Nerval as our main send target, along with Kuraz and Kit. These 4 cards are basically, the idea is that you're going Fractal into Kit, which goes into Nerval, into Karaz. So now you've thinned your deck out 4 cards, because you're 3 cards in this case. You have a loaded graveyard because you're sending the Fractal to get the Kit, Nerval into Karaz. So now you can make any Link 3 you want. So single-handedly, you've gone into the Fire Fist related cards without actually having to use the Fire Fist related stuff. Now, what makes this even better is, because Fractal is a Beast Warrior, you can play with Tensu, and all of a sudden you have, free, ways of summoning whatever you need. So, for the Fire Fist related stuff, we're playing 3 copies of Raven. It is now it used to be really like bad, but now with Link monsters, the fact that the deck is the Fire Fist related stuff is super generic for it. Gives you access to any of the Fire Formation spells, which is very important, because if you don't have Tensu, but you have Tenki, okay, you can get Tensu, which gives you other things. So you can load your graveyard up with what you need, and then use the Fire Formations to kind of supplement it, and vice versa. Use the Tri-Brigades to supplement the Fire Fist related stuff when you need it. We're then playing 3 copies of Dragon. It is really good under Eagle, because it's basically a free special summon, and if you use the Tiger King play, you can actually summon 2 of them off of the effect when you have Eagle on board, and you just get free Link fodder, which is actually pretty important, because there's all kinds of other things you can play with it. So for the other 3 ofs, we're playing 3 copies of Elephant. So Elephant is kind of unique in that when it's normal summon, you can send a Fire Formation you control to the graveyard and special summon a Fire Fist from hand. So it means you automatically can get any Link 2 you want, and then once per turn, you can shuffle back a Fire Formation and then add a level 5 or higher Fire Fist monster. So we only play 1 target in this deck, but there are level 5s you could technically play that can really help if you really need it. So, and the only target for that effect is 3 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Panda. So what makes Panda really unique is that when you activate a Fire Formation, you can summon it from hand. In addition to that, you can special summon a Fire Fist monster from your graveyard when you do so, and then it does lock you into Fire Fist for the rest of the turn, so keep that in mind. But then you can protect your stuff by sending a Fire Formation you control to the graveyard instead. So keep that in mind as well. But it is one of those, because you have Fire Formations all the time, you always have access to it. And then for the last remaining 1-ofs, we're playing 1 copy of Bear and then 1 copy of Buffalo. Bear is in here for the Tiger King combo, but also because of Eagle, it's basically you could pop an opponent's monster once per turn. Buffalo is really good because with Eagle, you can send it with Eagle's effect and then immediately bring it back, because Eagle says you don't pay costs for Fire Formations for the Fire Fist related stuff. So for kind of like the hand trap stuff, playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. It is the best hand trap to be playing if you don't know what you want to play. It's also fire, so you can kind of go with the theme. But the fact that it is a very generic hand trap makes it very versatile. If you could play any other hand traps you want, and then we're playing 2 copies of Nimiru as our other target, just because it's kind of one of those. Because now Appaloosa is gone from the game, a lot of cards that try to stop it are now gone. There's no real good combos to kind of make anything. It just makes big boards with semi-optimal plays now. Now for spells. We are playing 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Airborne Assault. So for people who don't know what this card does, you target a Tri-type, and then you special summon a Tri-type that's not the same type, and it's got less attack than the monster you selected. You special summon it, and then it locks you into Link monsters for the rest of the turn from the extra deck. So it doesn't Xenolock you from the main deck but it Xenolocks you into Link monsters for the rest of the turn, which is pretty kind of like inconsequential because we only play 2 non-links in this deck, and they're Fire Fist related stuff that you don't always go into every game anyway. So there's 3 of that. It's also a quick play, which is pretty important. And then for the Fire Fist related stuff, we're playing 3 copies of the Fire Formation Tenki. It's a generic Beast Warrior Rhoda, so you have to play it. It's also one of those, because it is a Rhoda that you can search, it means that as long as Raven resolves, you always have access to either a Fire Formation or a Fire Fist monster. And then the other Fire Formation, multiple Fire Formation we're playing is 3 copies of Tensu. It is a double summon for the deck, so keep that in mind. It does, give you additional plays, but it's also one of those, because it is inherently an extender, it gives you a lot of extra access, and the fact of the matter is that if you draw it, it's fine. Searching it is also fine. And then we're playing, for the remaining Fire Formation cards, we're playing 1 copy of Dome and Ingen. Basically, we're not using the ritual effect, but we do have the ability to use the fusion effect. But the fact that one recurs from grave, the other one specials from grave, gives you kind of like additional like one-ofs that you can kind of search if you already have your Fire Formations that you need. And then for traps, we're playing the 1 copy of Sento and the 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Revolt as our main search targets for kind of like disruptions and things like that. Sento is an Omni Negate for spell and traps, and Revolt is basically a disruption that you can link summon in your opponent's turn. And then we are playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence as our last remaining hand trap. I believe the main deck is 46. Don't quote me on that. But it plays a higher card count, mainly because the 2 engines, there's a lot of cards you have to play, and then there's cards you want to play because the deck is super consistent this way. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with the Fire Fist related stuff because it's only 4 cards specifically. We're going to start with 2 copies of Eagle. This card is really broken. So when this card is on the board, you do not have to pay the Fire Formation specific costs for any of the Fire Fist cards. So if a Fire Fist monster requires one of the monsters and a spell trap, you can skip the spell trap, but you still have to pay the monster. So keep that in mind. But for cards like Buffalo that don't care, as long as if it's a combination, you can send 2 Fire Formations to bring it back. Because this card can skip that, you can just summon Buffalo for free once per turn. Bear, you don't have to send to blow up a card once per turn. Dragon doesn't need to send 2 to special from graveyard once per turn, which is a soft once per turn, by the way. So, and then because it's on-field effect to send a Fire Formation you control to the graveyard or in your graveyard to return it, and then send a Fire Fist from deck to grave, means you always have access to Buffalo no matter what, because it's just another one of those, hey, gives me an extra extender. We're playing 1 copy of Tiger King and the 1 copy of Swan. So Tiger King is in here mainly as a kind of like one of those. It can be one of those cards you make to stun your opponent, but also because it's part of a specific combo involving Bear and Eagle. When you have Tiger King on the board and you use Bear's effect to blow it up with an Eagle on board, you can use Tiger King's effect to summon 2 dragons from the deck, because you don't have to pay the cost for the Fire Formations when it dies. The reason why this is important is because Dragon is a soft once per turn for each copy. meaning you can use, as long as you have an eagle on the board, you can keep using it to extend, and all of a sudden you have free link advantage. So it's kind of cool to always have access to that stuff. Now, for the Tri-Brigade related stuff, it's a combination of that and other generic stuff. So the first thing we're gonna that's in here is Scareclaw Lightheart. The reason why this is in here is it's a Link 1 Tri-type that the Tri-Brigade stuff can actually summon. The reason why this is important is there's occasions where you have only one material engraved, but you don't really have a Link monster to make, or you need to make the Ferrigite, but you don't have the material. This is a way to get to it. Speaking of which, we are playing 2 copies of Ferrigite as our main combo, kind of like combo enabler. The one Bear Broom, you're going to resolve this effect to search Revolt. We're playing the 1 copy of Rugal, the 1 copy of Shureg, and then the 1 copy of Blacephalus. So these are the main, Tri-Brigade related stuff that you're going to be playing. Blacephalus is kind of just in here as an additional item in case you really need to play it, but it's there if you want it. For the remaining extra deck cards, it's basically a combination of fire support along with Promethean Princess. So Almirage, this is for Raven specifically. Darumadal, this is a card that you can play under the restrictions that Tri-Brigade gives you that also has a disruption. And then the 1 copy of Promethean Princess along with Amblo Whale, because we were playing a bunch of fire monsters, so why the heck not? So it's a cool concept. I kind of wish that we had like another good main deck monster or good boss, or like a boss extra deck monster for Fire Fist specifically. Just kind of take advantage of the fact that Eagle's existence is really, really good. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.